Welcome to the Brotherly Ballers podcast with your hosts, Jack Vickers and Tyler Herman.
What up, all? Welcome to another edition of the Brotherly Ballers. We are coming in here with another weekly special. Most of our seasons, if you're like myself, have slowly been deteriorating with all the injuries. That's why we got these bad boys here. But we're going to be talking about a little bit of week 3 recaps. We're going to get into some interesting actual football related draft for a change, and we're going to look ahead to week 4 with some of our brand new segments. We're shaking things up in the middle of the season because why not? But first, welcome in, Tyler. What's new?
Oh, we are doing. I don't know. Everybody's so mad about the injuries. I'm doing pretty well in all of my leagues, so we're gonna find all the wood to knock on. But it's been all right. It's been all right thus far. So we're doing good for the most part.
You're not in enough leagues if you're not having injury issues this year.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. I could always add, I'm sure, like 3 or 4 more.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's only the important ones I have that all my players are gone. So that's fine.
No biggie.
Getting into stuff, YouTube, if you're listening to us currently on YouTube, great, you're here. Make sure you're subscribed and like some episodes. If you could comment any thoughts on things, whether they're insulting or not, that'd be great. Or toss out some new stuff for us to cover next week when you hear a segment on this week that you like. If you're on Spotify, that's great too, but feel free to check us out on YouTube whenever you're able, because that's where our main stuff goes. So getting into things, we're going to kick stuff off with a new segment this week, just because if you follow the show, Jack likes himself some fun facts. And last week I came across several when I was on the rabbit hole on Wednesday being like, Tyler, these are so great. I wanted to send them to you, but the show has already been recorded. So I saved them for this week. So they're a little bit adjusted since then, but I'll just try to rattle through a few of them. And, if we don't get to all of them, we'll cover them in the future. But feel free to give any interactions or thoughts as you go, because some are fantasy relevant, some are just bananas. So
yeah, it's kind of like
so this will be our new segment.
That's the only proper thing I could come up with for the segment. So I'm like, thanks, Gwen Stefani. I appreciate it.
Yeah, throwing back the classics. So this will be our new segment for anything random ass fun facts, or if we want to toss out like a crazy, unbelievable NFL story, maybe from the past week, or just something you heard that's like, this is unbelievable. So first off, kicking things off with Braylon Allen. He is now the youngest player in the NFL history in the Super Bowl era to score a touchdown. He's at 20 years and 239 days, meaning he's going to play most of his rookie season unable to officially drink.
That's so crazy. I love it. I love seeing those facts. And I was like, essentially along the same lines, I'm like, even with this new draft class, like Anthony Richardson is still the youngest quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah,
I'm like that is bonkers.
And how he's like played less games than most, like in his entire career than most people have that are still in college. And this one needs to be updated because I had it as Andy Dalton has thrown for 300 passing yards 3 times for 3 different teams. It's now 4 times for 4 different teams. But the crazy part is he's done that 4 times for 4 different teams since the last time Aaron Rodgers had one game of 300 yards. So
that's just red rocket to the moon.
We'll let that sink in. This one, obviously, he had a little bit more of a down week this past one, but Devon Achane, one of my boys, if you don't know, he entered week 2 with the highest points per game in NFL history ever at 19.5. Oh, yeah, and then he raised it. So there's that. Obviously not completely sustainable, but it's
he's so incredibly efficient with what he does have, and turns out Mike McDaniel is like, we need to give this guy more work.
Yeah, weird. We get Mostert out of the way. If we just had a competent quarterback or even a QB2, because now they're missing him too, he'd be doing even better. So
yeah, sounds like they're going to roll Tyler Huntley out. So I thought that was interesting. Like I'm like 1 week off the Baltimore practice squad, and they're like, you're going to start.
Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley from the Ravens.
Dude, he's a stud. Underrated. Careful Titans
mobile.
picks.
He's probably better than Skylar Thompson. So
I 100% agree.
Fantasy at least.
Careful Titans picks.
Yeah, no kidding. Devin Singletary is averaging more yards per carry, 5.1 this season for the Giants, than Saquon is at 4.5. So you give him the better offensive line, and Singletary is like, I don't understand why you didn't just do this all the time. So Mr. Efficient. Yeah,
he's my
Mr.
boy.
Tyler's career, my guy.
100%.
And then, speaking of running backs, Javonte Williams has faced a stack box on 57.9% of his runs through the first 3 weeks. If you're wondering what is that in context, it's almost a 1.5 time rate as much as the next highest guy, Jordan Mason, with 39.6%. So not that he's doing great and having that bounce back season like we were all hoping, but I mean, it's 60% of the time. What do you want him to do? Like,
Yeah, I mean, certainly Bo Nix isn't getting a whole lot of help. Like Sutton had like 8 catches for 35 yards. Like they're turns out they're just not throwing deep. They don't have a whole lot of weapons, so they're like, we're just gonna stack the box. And don't get me wrong, I've watched enough Javonte highlights. He looks really bad, and he's my guy, and I don't want to say it. I can't give up on him, and I won't. But it doesn't look good.
I gave up on him in Dynasty this offseason, so I did get that. Anyways.
I quadrupled down. I think
It's
quadrupled.
okay. Ayuk's not even doing anything
everywhere.
So I can't be that happy. This one made me sad, so I know it'll make you a little sad because this has formerly been one of your guys too. But through the first 2 weeks, this stat alone is bananas enough. But NFL kickers were 35 for 39 on 50-plus yard field goals in the first 2 weeks. The fact that there were even 39 attempted is insane, but then 35 of them were made is bananas. On top of that, Justin Tucker had 2 of the 4 misses. So,
yeah,
Mr. Locke is no more.
Yeah, it's certainly time to take all the other out back. It's getting pretty brutal. But I saw that same stat. It's actually from last week because it was 35 for 37, and he had the only 2 misses. So he got some company this week. But yeah, he was the only one with misses after last week. I was like, yikes, Mr. Tucker, that's not good.
Brutal.
He said it was something mechanical and some type of technique, and Harbaugh's like, he figured it out and he's good now. But I'm like, I don't know,
Is
man.
he?
I don't know. I sure hope so.
I'll believe it when I see it, because everyone else apparently figured it out. So
yeah,
this one made me really happy because if you go back to one of the buy guy picks of the year, DeAndre Swift had 48 rushing yards on 24 carries through the first 2 weeks of the season. 47 of those have come after contact, and yet he has faced the 5th lowest rate of defenders in the box this year, 8.3%.
He is bad.
You can't even say it's the Bears line and that he's getting tackled behind. He's not. It's just there's only 4 guys rushing and he still can't get by them. So shouting out Roshan Johnson, I was talking about in the preseason about him or Herbert stepping up, but I think he's going to pass Swift early on and become the Miles Sanders 2.0. So
yeah, I think that was the easiest bet preseason that I made, was like under 875 rushing yards on the year for DeAndre Swift. I was like, oh, thank you. Appreciate it, free money.
I don't think he'll get there even if he plays all 17 games. And this is assuming Mr. Injury is not getting hurt. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't happening. He's not that good. Sorry, guys.
A few more here, 3-4 more, and we'll wrap them up. But these are entertaining to me. So, 4 quarterbacks have an average target depth under 6 yards this season. Malik Willis, Gardner Minshew, Jaden Daniels, all make sense. Patrick Mahomes is dead last at 5.1. So,
yeah, I heard that one as well. That offense is just, they just don't know how to finish drives, and there's no deep threat.
No. Yeah, it's been weird the last season and a half now for them.
Yeah.
Another quarterback, Bo Nix on passes more than 5 yards downfield, 11 for 36, 212 yards and 4 picks. Got us, Sean Payton. Way to trick us into trading up to not get him.
Yikes.
Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. This has also been updated since the last week because turns out both did better. But both of them since leaving Carolina, 46 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. That's bananas. And now it's 52 and 15. So
I love it. Just run away unless your name's Andy Dalton. You can stay.
Except you stay. Last one, Dalton Kincaid. This was through week 2, but this was disgusting. He has -3 air yards on the season. Just let that sink in and think about what that means. So, yeah, gross. That's terrible. This shit is bananas for the week. So, we'll bring you more next time. Hopefully not as many fun facts. We'll try to pick a few interesting ones each week.
Yeah.
Moving into more stuff, you see where we're going with the next one. But NFL news-wise, Tyler's going to tell us about the Vikings 60-second synopsis.
Oof. That was a fun one. If you ever had Minnesota doubt before, I'm going to continue to have it just for the for the juju to continue. But we kicked the ever-loving crap out of the Texans, 34-7. Darnold 4 touchdowns, leading the league, by the way, in touchdowns. And our defense continued to dominate. I think that's what we said had to happen and continued to happen for us to be there. 2 picks, 4 sacks. I mean, it was awesome. The US Bank was absolutely rocking 3 false starts. So it was a lot of fun. And Stroud looked down bad. He could not handle the blitz pressure that we do. We blitz at the highest rate in the NFL, and it showed, and he was rattled the whole game.
What's crazy is I remember that being the stat last year. We were far and away number one, and I was kind of just thinking that it was basically a product of just our defense is bad, and so Flores is trying to do what he can to cover that pressure. He's still doing it now, which now I'm like, maybe this is just the thing. But like our secondary is holding up, and our linebackers have been good enough where like it's okay if we're doing it. So I can't believe it. I still am in doubt. I don't know. I think I was trying to figure out like when I will believe, and like we talked about this last week, and I was like, I'll start to if they beat the Texans, and the fact that we so thoroughly beat them is what's crazy to me. I think post week 4 is what I'll believe in, because if we can actually beat the Packers, I mean, especially if Love is back, but even if he's not, I feel like this is just that game where it's like the typical Lucy holding the football. The Vikings are out to a great start, and then we're going to flop against our rivals, the one game that most Vikings fans care about. So if we come out there and it's just like, yeah, the Vikings are doing it, they're going to be a surprise playoff team, and then we lose like 24-10, I'm going to be like, oh, there it is. So I don't want to mess up the juju. I don't want to keep doubting them either. But if they pull it off this week, get to 4-0 and be probably one of maybe 3 teams at that point that are undefeated, I will believe. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
sorry,
I mean, there's only 3. No, you're good. I mean, there's only 3 undefeated teams right now. I think in the whole NFL. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain.
Chiefs, Steelers.
Oh yeah.
Who else am I thinking?
Maybe I was thinking. Maybe it was in a conference, but no, but maybe it was 4. But yeah, I think
Seahawks,
if Love
gross. plays,
yeah, that's disgusting.
That's
so I think if
total.
Love plays and we win in Lambeau, so like on the road, and Green Bay's defense has looked really good. Their pass defense is obviously really good. So they're a run funnel defense. And so if Aaron Jones needs to step up and have a good game, and we do that, control the clock, and obviously defense plays well, we can certainly win even if Jordan Love plays. But exactly to your point, I think we win this one, it starts to be like, ooh man, we got a team that we can start to believe in.
Yep. Speaking of the Packers game, which is at noon, it makes me sad this isn't at least like a 3-something game, like flexed into something. But they probably didn't expect us to be good, so I can't blame them.
Yeah.
Do you have any quick thoughts on like our weekly, we win this game if, we lose this game if?
Yeah, kind of like I said, again, just brief. The Packers tend to be a run funnel defense. Their pass defense is really good. So I think we need to do, like I've said before, kind of control the ground game, control that time of possession, get a turnover, and that'll help us a lot. So if defense continues to look like it is, Sam Darnold is doing his thing. I don't foresee him having big, horrible blow up games where he throws 3 picks. He's just too much of a seasoned veteran to make those mistakes. He's willing to take what that defense gives him, protect the ball, throw for 200 yards, 210 yards, and a touchdown, and let the defense do the rest. So our offense won't hurt us to the point of turning the ball over enough. It's got to be control and defense.
Yep, I agree with that. I won't reiterate much more. If we keep doing this turnover battle and sack battle win every week, it's pretty easy. So that'll be the difference maker for us. If I can't believe Malik Davis is 2-0, but if by some miracle he's starting again against us and not Jordan Love, I think we just got to shut down the run and we'll be okay. But we'll see. Yep. All right, we will keep not believing and just see what we're talking about next week.
That's right.
I'm going full in with the jersey and the hat, so if this curses us, then I'll go back to not wearing ours because I'm scared.
Love it.
Right. Moving to the NFL pick'em side, this was just a bad week pretty much across the board except for Mr. No-Win Connor over here getting 2. It turns out everybody else picked the Browns and or the Raiders and or the Bucks. Literally all of us except for Mac picked some combo of those.
It was really bad. We were combined 3 and 13.
I was going to say basically everyone went 0-2 except for a couple of squeakers that Mac picking the Jets early got him up to the top of the leaderboard.
Really bad.
A few of us at 3 and 3, and then everyone else struggling at 2 and 4. But you're not out of it because we're all struggling. So it's at this point who's wasted the good teams early. Yeah, I mean, I feel okay because I thought I've had some layups, but they didn't work out. At least I don't feel like I've really wasted any good teams yet. Looking at mine, I mean, Tyler's pretty similar across the board too. Yeah. So I mean, I think we'll start to kind of do what we did last year, where we caught people that wasted the locks, if you can say that, this year, because who knows anymore. But yeah, it's anyone's game. So Tyler, what are we looking at week 4?
Yeah, this is probably one of the first weeks that it seems like there's a little bit more over the board than what we've had, and I think it was kind of on purpose. And people are starting to realize that there isn't a whole lot of locky good teams this year like there was last year. So Jack, looks like you're going Texans and Rams. I don't mind that over the Bears. For me, I totally switched it up. I was like, I'm gonna take the Cardinals. I think Washington's defense is brutal. Jaden has obviously looked really, really good. But Kyler and that offense is totally different than the Bengals offense, in my opinion, and their defense is just so bad. So give me the Cardinals at home for that one. And then if the Cowboys can't beat the Giants on Thursday Night Football, they just need to mail it in. And so I would never feel comfortable picking them again the rest of the year if they lost this one. So just give me this one. Nick's going Titans and Packers. Nate's going Titans and Cowboys. Max going Texans and Vikings because he's going for the bad juju. I see that. Foster is going Texans and Jets. Connor going Jets and Packers. Brutal. And then Joe going with Steelers and Cowboys.
The only other one I thought about, I had the Jets over Broncos locked in at mine, and I just switched it to the Rams over Bears. I feel worse about that game, but I felt like the Rams are probably not going to be a situation where I don't want to use them a lot, so I'm trying to get them out of the way and steal a win, whereas the Jets, like I said earlier last week, they're playing the Patriots twice plus other easy games, so I'm hoping I can save them, but I don't know.
My only thing for the Rams was just the potential of them being healthier down the road and getting cut back in a few weeks. So I saw the Raiders on the schedule and things like that, 3 weeks out, I at least have a chance there. So because I initially thought about them over the Bears as well, but I'm like, hey, on the road, and we'll see.
True, that's fair.
But yeah, so that was my only reasoning for not, because I looked at that as well.
And what do we know? We're all just 500 at this point. So.
Yeah, it's not good.
Moving into the Minnesota sports season-long pick'em. Through week 3, we made up a little bit of ground. I think it kind of like the pack got a little bit more glommed together. But the leader's at 33, Tyler's at 29, I'm at 28. We matched last week, same number of wins, so it's just from 1 week ago we had the difference there. So we're in the running. Everybody's so close now that I'm not going to bother with standings because it's like 8 tied for 14th place and blah, blah, blah. But week 4 winners, I'll rattle these off here, and then I'll just kind of highlight a couple of either underdogs that I'm picking or like interesting ones that I'm kind of going back and forth on that'll be tough. So we got winners as Cowboys, Saints, Rams, Vikings, Steelers, Jets, Eagles, Bengals, Texans, Cardinals, who technically they're 1-2 versus the 2-1 Commanders, but I just think I like the Cardinals better. Kind of like Tyler talked about a minute ago. 49ers, Browns. Browns are 53-47 edge over the Raiders. Obviously, both teams are gross, but I'm just relying on the defense there. The Chiefs, of course, the Ravens versus the Bills. I'm going Ravens at only 47%. Again, I just think I'm leaning on the defense more. The Bills have looked better and the Ravens have struggled, but I think the Ravens will bounce back a bit. And I just believe in the Ravens offense more, and I definitely believe in their defense more. So Dolphins, I don't feel great about that whole Tennessee Dolphins game. I think will be gross, but I hate Tennessee more. And then the Lions somehow against the 3-0 Seahawks. So some might look at that and be like, oh, the Lions are the worst team, but I'm going with them to round off the week. So any thoughts or differences from you?
Yeah, I don't think so. I have the Ravens in mind as well. I have the Browns in mind as well. That was closer than I thought. It's down to 51-49 Browns, so it's even flipped that way. And I think the only other one I took the Falcons over the Saints. So they have a really good defense. But I know you said you had Saints in there, or at least that's what you listed in there too. So I'm going to take the Falcons at 42% over that 58% just because they're playing at home. But I could see certainly that one's just going to be a coin flip in a divisional matchup.
Yeah, it's just going to be. I think the Saints defense. I will take them
really
over the Falcons offense, but the Saints offense, I don't know what they're going to do. So it's just whether that shows up or not. If the Saints can put up 21 to 24 points, I'll take them. But if you saw last week the dud, I just don't know what's going to happen. So the only other big one is obviously picking the Vikings. I don't feel great about, but this one may flip flop depending on if Jordan Love's available. I'm hoping Vikings for now, but we'll see. So our weekly underdog of the week, last week, I talked about it. I talked about the Panthers versus the Raiders, and the Panthers came out and smoked them. This was even before, this was right when we got the news that Dalton was going to start, but it was the Raiders were like 92% favorites. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. It should at least be 50-50. So got that one right. And then Tyler and I hammered the week before about the Cardinals over the Rams, who were the favorites at the time too. So we're looking good with the underdogs so far. This one, I could not decide between two. So I have the Rams over the Bears. The Bears are 2.5-point favorites, yes, at home, but I just think the Rams are probably a better team, even with the injuries right now. And I think they're going to rely on Kyron to kind of control the game a bit. And then the Bucks versus Eagles. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites right now. I kind of like the Bucks at home a little bit more. I think the Bucks defense is looking solid. Their offense is explosive, and the Eagles seem like they're still kind of like wishy-washy. So with them probably missing Devontae Smith with the concussion and then A.J. Brown still banged up, especially at that point, I just think Hurts has not been reliable. So I think the Bucks are going to be one of those that like everybody picks the Eagles because it's the Eagles, but the Bucks I could see surprising more than people expect. So
100%. Their defense has been so bad, and they've always been a pass defense that you could throw on. And what does Baker do? Throw it a billion times. And guess what? Like you said, to the point of the Eagles, we're likely not going to have A.J. Brown. And Devonta Smith is officially in concussion protocol as well. So you might not have him as well. So then your number one receiver is Jahan Dotson. Talk about a game where Saquon gets 96 touches. And Bucks already came out and said, hey, we want to get Mike Evans more involved. What a concept. Sounds like a great idea. Like
it work.
Yeah, weird. So a pass funnel defense that Baker Mayfield only knows how to pass, I can 100% see that.
Yes, agreed. I'm starting every Bucks receiver and Baker anywhere. So
no question.
So we'll see how we do on two of those, but we're feeling good with underdogs so far in the season. Tyler, do you want to do a quick little roundup of bomb squads and butt cheeks as long as we're in pick'em mode?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, as far as this week 3 wasn't good for either of us when we're both trying to lose. So Jack went 2-1 with the Panthers, the Raiders, and the Seahawks, and those lovely 3-0. They're doing awesome for you. For me, I had Broncos, Giants, and the Cardinals. I went 2-1 as well. The Broncos beat the Bucks, and Giants won as well. So I mean, it was absolutely brutal. And so then into week 4 for me, Broncos versus the Broncos are playing the Jets. Yeah, Giants have the Cowboys, and then Cardinals and Commanders. So I should go 0-3, but I could see at least going 1-2. If the Jets or Cowboys don't beat the Broncos and the Giants, we got issues.
Yeah, Commanders Cardinals feels like a coin flip. The other two feel very safe. I've got my teams facing the Lions, Browns, and Bengals. Can't figure out what the Bengals are doing. So I mean, honestly, that could be a coin flip there. But the Lions, I'm sure, should win. Browns and Bengals, I feel like one of those two will win, so I'll probably still be like 1-2, honestly, and I'll just keep the 500 season rolling along. The Seahawks are just destroying my plan. Everybody else, like I'd be 2-4 right now without them, and they're just killing me. So we'll see. I'm banking on the later season push because the Seahawks have had a very, very easy schedule as far as one of the 3-0 teams have. So I'm just banking on later on. All right, moving into fantasy talk now. We're going to get into some of our new segments shortly, but first, the fan favorite.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
Oh, for those of you, if you're not on YouTube, look at that beautiful graphic created by Tyler, completely on his own, not AI or anything. He painted.
Totally. I'm really, really good at graphics. I'm really, really good at typing in words.
That's why I hired him. Pay him the big bucks. AI. So, let me just say, last week was rough. We're not doing great. Tyler was off to a hot start. He was at QB2. He's dropped down to QB7 with 55.3 points. I'm at 38.3, which despite a better week than Tyler, I dropped more places and farther behind from 16 to 22. So there's a lot of quarterbacks that turns out right in the mix. I think last year we were struggling to start-ish, and we made our stand as the year went along because quarterbacks drop like flies and bye weeks happen and bad matchups and stuff. So it's a marathon, not a sprint, but it wasn't great. So I had Gardner Minshew versus Carolina give me 13.9. Half of that was based on the last drive with that 70-yard drive and the touchdown. So thank God, because it was also rough. But Tyler did a little worse than that, unfortunately.
It was, I had the Derek Carr. I derailed the train. And so just for that fact, I'll make sure I never pick Sam Darnold because it always seems like we derail it at some point. But Carr had 7.9. If for anybody who watched the game, I'm sorry that you had to watch the game. It was just horrible back and forth. So what can you do? On to the next, but we'll see if the Saints are a wagon or if they're actually good. We're going to find out. This will be the telling week.
Let me tell you, neither of us are picking Derek Carr. I relied on him in so many spots last week, so this was brutal. I was hoping you went off and swimming upstream because this hurt. So
yeah, it was brutal.
Week 4, I get the first pick back after we unfortunately had those 2 picks. So I went with a lot of people. Tyler even had some of the same ones I was thinking about in here. So I was just going through kind of my options. I was like, I don't. Sam Darnold versus a good Packers defense. He's got his little knee injury that's enough for me to lean elsewhere, and it's in Lambeau. I looked at Justin Fields just because he runs and stuff, but they're talking about they're not sure that Russ might be cleared this week. So I'm like, I don't want any part of that and have a backup plan. And then Daniel Jones, I was just like, I don't care if he's projected high. He does bad every week, and I will never pick him. You can have the first pick. I can have the first pick every time, and I won't take him. So I am leaning with Geno Smith, kind of one of those games we talked about earlier, the Seahawks versus Detroit, only because I expect it to be more of a shootout, and the Seahawks defense isn't great, and I expect them to have to score points to keep up with Detroit. So their new offenses look great this year. If Kenneth Walker is still out, I expect that to help the passing offense more. So I'm going with him and kind of a safe floor, low ceiling.
Nice. I am going just because I can. Mac, this is just for you. Give me the Red Rocket. I'm going to do it. I don't even think he's. I think the last I saw on ESPN, he was like 1.6% owned.
He's not even. Yeah.
Don't even care. Ride the Lightning. Let's go against the Bengals. Give me the Red Rocket. Andy Dalton. Let's rock. Just because.
1.5% owned. Holy hell.
I
don't hate it as a revenge game.
22.4 revenge game. Exactly. I was like, let's do it.
I would take him over any of the other ones, probably except Geno. I think he's the next logical choice because he just throws the ball a ton when he's in there. All right, we're going to move into ship it or skip it. I'll let Tyler run this one because I've still managed to not look at what's on the screen yet.
Awesome. So the first one, after Neighbors continues to just set NFL records through the first 3 games of his NFL career, Neighbors is officially the best wide receiver in this most recent class over Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, God. Are we talking like career? Or are we talking like right now? Right now, yes. Right now, yes, he is.
Right now doesn't
Marvin
count.
Harrison
I said best receiver of the class.
I think I will go with no. I'm going to skip it. I think Marvin Harrison still has had more of the tools and everything, and I think a big part of Neighbors is just crazy volume of like, we're going to throw it to him on every play. We don't care if he turns into dust by the end of the season. He's getting the ball 12 times. So I think the key difference is that it's so much closer than people realize. Like looking back in draft season, you're talking about Marvin Harrison in the late first or Malik in like the third, fourth. Like you're getting the exact same production, if not better, for that big of a discount. So I will skip it. I still think Marvin Harrison is better, but I think I'm not going to be surprised if fantasy wise Neighbors finishes well above him, not just above.
Yeah, I'm going to say ship it. I think because of that volume, he is just going to be continually and consistently better. Cardinals just have more weapons and more things to do with it, and Daniel Jones has no choice but to feed him. Malik Neighbors single-handedly is going to keep Daniel Jones as the New York Giants quarterback. Like it's just, I think it's that simple. He's that crazy good that people are going to be like, see, Daniel Jones is all right. When if he didn't have Neighbors, he would be out of town next year.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So next one, Saquon is the new auto 101, and next year standard leagues, or we'll say we'll say like the number 1 running back off the board next year.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you make it standard, it gets closer. God, yeah, I think I would say skip it. I think there's still, if you're talking about running backs, I think it's going to kind of be like the big 3 where this year it was the Breece Bijan flip-flop. I think you're still going to have those 2 up there. There's been a ton of, and I didn't pull up any of these stats like in the show notes, but there's been a ton of them where like, despite Bijan still having a solid start to the season, he's actually underperformed based on like projections of what he's supposed to be doing. So I expect him to continue to take off even more. And Breece is just doing what he did last year, but with a better quarterback and less stacked box. So I think it'll end up being like no one's going to fault you for any of the 3 of them just because he has the best offense of the 3, but I don't think he's going to walk away with like the 101 by any means.
Yeah, I'll be curious. The volume is there. The goal line rushing is there. That was the main knock on him. The amount of times that they ran it inside the 5 with Saquon this last week was, or even to start the season, has been crazy. Yeah. They were like, okay, Jason Kelsey's gone, tush push, essentially gone. Here you go, Saquon. You can do it.
Yeah.
They ran an outside counter from the 1 to Saquon so he could score. And I'm like, what is happening? I love this.
I will say I'm very curious what the Eagles look like. I mean, he'll still get a ton of work, but what it'll look like with A.J. Brown back too, just because he's missed weeks 2 and 3 now. So like, is it going to be as relied on or will they go back to Old Faithful? But
fully healthy.
Yeah, he's moved from like that fringe 2nd round pick to now he's like, I'm back to Saquon top 5 type of thing.
Yeah, we'll go just a quick coach one because nobody really cares. But if the Cowboys don't absolutely blow out the Giants on Thursday Night Football, not even lose, even if they win a close one, McCarthy's seat starts to look real hot.
Yeah, I think I'll ship that just based on continuing from last year's exit where they got demolished by the Packers. I think everybody's kind of like I don't agree, but I think as far as Cowboys fans go, it's like a Super Bowl or bust type of thing. And I think it's consistently been they underperform in the first round and lose right away. Like they never make it to divisional or beyond that. So it's like I don't think they're going to fire him midseason or anything crazy, but it'll be like if you don't have results this season, like win the division or win a first round playoff game, you're done kind of thing. So, yes.
Yep, I can see that too. Next one for you. The Bears should have kept Fields and went elsewhere or traded the number 1 pick.
This is such an easy toss-up softball of a yes in hindsight, but I will point out that like back in the offseason or like end of the season show, I said that they should do this. I said the best outcome was trading the first pick and getting capital back. Now in hindsight, yeah, I guess you could have taken like Marvin Harrison and paired him with that, but like you could have traded it for so much capital and just built around Fields. Not only is like Caleb not better than Fields, but think of the additional weapons you could have had. And if you would have gone out and gotten like the Keenan Allens and Roma Dunzes and everybody of the world, like that would have also helped. So yeah, I'm full in on that one.
Yeah, I get it. I'm gonna say skip it only because it's so early. Like Caleb's played 3 NFL games. There's a lot of, and he's got weapons and things like that, and not everybody's healthy and blah blah blah. And that offensive line has been absolutely brutal. So I still think Caleb Williams is better than Justin Fields. But at the same time, to that point, the Bears as an organization could have gotten so much more and seen a serviceable Fields, I feel. And so to your point, so I get that.
Yeah.
Last one for you.
Okay.
Just back at it because we've talked about them enough. The Bengals, now 0-3. They will miss the playoffs.
Oh, God, yeah, that's right. You asked me that last week. God, I think it's so many teams are all over the place right now. I'd have to look at like the AFC standings to see what kind of teams they could catch. But I'm still going to say skip it. I think they figure it out, and I think they're good enough to make like a 7th seed type of thing. It's probably going to take 3 teams from the AFC North making it because the Steelers are on their way despite my best efforts, and the Ravens, I think, will still also make it. So, yeah, I mean, maybe this ends up coming down to like the Bengals or Ravens making it with their slow start. So I don't know, but I got to believe they're better than the 7th best team in the AFC.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Steelers 3-0, Ravens 1-2, Browns 1-2, Bengals 0-3. Nothing like having a 2-game lead 3 games into it.
Gross.
I don't know how the Steelers do it every year. I really don't.
I'm so upset. I was so sure they wouldn't. They'd have a losing season, and now they're 3-0 just like
Just
that.
can't do it. All right, that's what I got.
All right, I love it. Do you want to introduce our new next segment since you coined the name?
Yeah, I was. We like I said, we wanted to transition into just some more general kind of opinions since you guys don't care about our league. So we did kind of a start and sit 'em. So a start sit for just some fringy players that can typically be in like a flex or wide receiver 2, running back 2 type area, but more so kind of flex range for you. So we're gonna call it suit up or sit down.
I love that. All right, go ahead and kick them off, I guess.
So the first one I got for you, starting to get some run, 35% snap share, 14 opportunities in week 3, 5.1 yards per carry. Braylon Allen for the Jets.
Mr. Underage himself. We're doing this based on just this current week start sit, right?
Yeah, first Denver this week.
Oh, give me a suit up for this one. I'm in. I'm all in on the Braylon Allen.
Suit up!
Love that.
I love it.
I think he is crazy efficient and the perfect complement to Brees to keep him healthy. I think this is going to become more and more of like a 35 to 40% split with Brees. And I think also this is the perfect game to put him in as your flex guy if you're dealing with injuries like a lot of us, because Denver is going to be bad and they're going to be probably up on him by 2 scores early where they just work him in more. So I'm in.
Awesome. I love it. So I'll hit my little sounder. I think I hit it in the middle there, but it wasn't working. So I wanted to make sure. So
Suit up!
Braylon Allen, suit up. All right. Next one, a much more popular player, 2nd round draft pick, but seems to have somebody breathing down his neck, and the likely number 1 waiver priority here coming up for tomorrow. Rachaad White, 70% snap count, but you got Bucky Irvin breathing down your neck, and this week versus Philly. Suit him up or sit him down.
Too. Oh, God. I mean, I feel like this is a situation where, like, if you have him, you probably are going to have to start him. Like, you probably don't have the luxury of being like, I'm going elsewhere. But if you've got any other kind of options, like, I don't view him as a running back 2 this week. I view him as more of a flex. So for that, I would say we're sitting down.
Now sit down and shut up.
That too.
That's what you get, Rashad. So
I've been out on Rashad for like 2 years now. I think he's just that like so bad, but he gets drafted because you're banking on him getting 30 touches a game. And if he doesn't, it's like, oh no, he's not that good.
Yeah, I mean, you know my stance. He was my buy guy. He was my fade this year. So I said he had the most inefficient season last year, and it wasn't going to get any better. They didn't draft Bucky Irvin in the 3rd round to get 20% snap share. He's already up to 37 to 38% snap share, and they came out the other day and said, "Hey, he's going to get more run." Well, yeah, no shit. He's absolutely killing it. Yeah. Next one. Rico Dowdle. I think this is an interesting one for Thursday night. Early decision, 45% snap count, but he's getting a majority of the rushing and receiving work. And again, Thursday night against the Giants this week, so got to make an early decision. Suit him up or sit him down.
This is so tough because like the first 2 weeks, it kind of was like clearly Zeke, sort of Zeke, and now Dowdle. So
Correct.
It's like, well, what are you guys going to do? I think this is another one of those kind of like Braylon Allen where like he's maybe not the number 1 option, but you're playing him based on who he's playing against with the Giants, or like whether it's Zeke or him that gets the majority of the lead. I think they're both going to get work in this game up early. So assuming you're struggling with, injuries and stuff, I would have no problem playing him as a flex level. And let me say, I swear to God, on a Thursday night game, if you put him in your flex, I'm going to be angry. So put him in the running back 2 spot. But yes, I think he's good as a flex.
Awesome. You heard him, Rico.
Suit up.
All right.
My guy right there.
So good. I'll do these next two kind of in tandem, just because the whole offense is kind of disjointed. For the Colts, Alec Pierce right now in full PPR, he's a wide receiver 16. Kind of crazy to me. 21.5, 16.5, and then 5.4 this last week. So I'm playing the Steelers this week, and in that same vein, Michael Pittman. The whole passing offense with Anthony Richardson has just been kind of brutal. So we'll do Anthony Pierce quick, and then we'll even put Pittman in there as well.
Oh, I feel so gross about how I feel. Do you have a strong feeling on starting either if you have them?
For me, honestly, in this one, I'm sitting them both down. Okay. Alec Pierce is more of a kind of been a big play guy. He's had 2 or 3 receptions for 79 yards and a touchdown, 54-yard touchdown, and then he had 2 catches for 54 yards this last week. So for me, in something like a full PPR league, great. He's big boomer bust. Some of these weeks he's going to have busts. He's not going to have 1 catch for 54-yard touchdown every single week. And Pittman, again, he has no depth of target. Yeah. He's 3-4 yards down the line. And we've seen the Anthony Richardson stupid turnovers continue. He leads the NFL in turnovers. And so they're going to start being more conservative. They're going to let him run the ball and Jonathan Taylor run the ball. You saw that happen in week 3. Jonathan Taylor had 24 carries for 115 yards and a touchdown. They're like, hey, guess what? This is the best way to protect the ball. It's not let Anthony Richardson throw it and let him use his athleticism along with Jonathan Taylor. So I'm sitting them both down.
Oh, man. I got nothing else to add.
Now sit down and shut up.
Sorry, Pittman.
Makes me sad. I really like Pittman. It makes me sad.
Me as well. Last 2 for you. I'll go quickly on these ones. Are you a believer? Quentin Johnston. Are we ready? We'll say Justin Herbert is healthy. Again, high ankle sprain. This one's a tough one. Hard to say. I could certainly see Justin Herbert missing this one, but we'll say just kind of rest of season almost for you. Healthy Herbert, Quentin Johnston, do you feel comfortable putting him in this week versus the Chiefs?
Feel comfortable playing him. It might be the right decision sometimes, but I feel like out of principle, and Jordan, if you're watching, I will never support Quentin Johnston. I supported him until I traded him away to you. I can't do it. I might look silly some weeks where like, oh, he got me. He scored a touchdown. Like he looked great when he scored 2 touchdowns. So like, I just don't know that I believe. So, I mean, it's worth a spot start if you have to, but even against the Chiefs where I expect them to be playing from behind, I think the Herbert ankle is enough for me to be like, this week and just go away from it. So I'm out.
Yep. I'm with you.
Now sit down and shut up.
Last one for you. This one is actually pretty intriguing. It might be kind of polarizing too, just because he's been so good and then so not. Rashid Shaheed, dud this week.
Yeah,
0.
That hurt.
5 targets, 0 catches. Totally ugly game. Had like 21 and 18 points in weeks 1 and week 2. Betting on a bounce back versus Atlanta this week in a divisional game.
I made the mistake of trusting him in 3 leagues last week, and that was the first time I'd played him all year. I am out, but I am also a very risk-averse person when it comes to fantasy. I don't like the if he catches one pass for 50 yards, he had a great week. And if not, he got nothing. So for me, I think it's going to continue to show Olave getting more and more work. He finally had a good week relatively last week. I think a good part of this is I just don't want to bet on Derek Carr if I don't have to. So I'm sitting him if I have the option.
I'm 100% with you. Atlanta, one of the best secondaries in the NFL. There's no question about that. So I'm with you. Sorry, Shaheed.
Now sit down and shut up.
And that's what I got for this week. And sit down and shut up.
I love that. If you guys have any next week questions for whether you should suit up or sit down a guy, let us know and we can recap them on your teams early on in the week so you know what to do. Moving into another technically new segment. We're going to have some graphics coming with this eventually that'll look real pretty. But for now, we have a new kind of league recap, which we like to call.
Hey, how you doing?
So this is basically just our condensing of, you guys don't want to hear us talk about every single one of our leagues and how great or how stupid we are and how frustrated we are with our teams. So this is just our chance to kind of, victory lap or air grievances about, one thing that stood out to us from our 6 different leagues that cross over and that are pretty just generic. So do you have any quick thought, Tyler, on how you doing?
Yeah, mine was Monday night sweat. Going into it, I was feeling great. Played Alex in our league record, the Victoria's Secret League. I was winning, and thankfully I won and held it off, but it made me sweat all the way through it. I was winning 118 to 80 going into the last 2 drives, and then Jamar Chase gets a 47-yard touchdown, and he's got Jaden Daniels, and then Jaden throws a touchdown to his other receiver, Terry McLaurin, in the fourth quarter. So I end up winning, thankfully, but I went 118 to 112 when I was up by 55 going into the last 9 minutes of the fourth quarter. I was like, what is happening? So that was crazy. I've never seen anything like that. It went from 1% to 47% really fast and made me really scared.
Yeah, shows how the stack can just like win or almost win you a week, even if you're down. So that was terrifying. Mine will be a little bit of a grinds my gears rant session, but let me just talk about in the Minnesota Sports League. Matt and Voldy, if you guys are listening, I swear to God, I have the most points in my division of 6, and I'm in 5th place. Week 1, I lost by 2.5 points. Because I, like most of you, was a Christian McCaffrey owner who got caught with oh, by the way, he's not playing after we said all offseason he was fine. And I didn't have anybody else to play. So I literally just sat with a 0 and lost by 2.5 when they had no one else. Like I would have won by 20. So this is full PPR. And then last week I lost by 15 or something like that with Rashid Shaheed, the aforementioned son of a gun that got me a 0. I am missing both McCaffrey and Cooper Kupp in this league. So obviously one of them would have been in my lineup and probably could have gotten me the win. So 1 and 2, despite I think I'm 3rd most points in the entire league. And can't do a lot when you're missing basically a perennial wide receiver 1 and running back 1. So don't worry, only 4 teams in your dang league make the playoffs, so it's not like I have any issues with trying to hold on until the loss. It would be nice to get some of these easy wins because feels like a 3-0 team when you're not missing half your players. So that's my rant.
Poor Jack.
Anyway, anchor. All right, we're gonna move into some more kind of new revamped segments, we'll call it. But Guilly Guilly, we're going to get into for our weekly Guillotine League special. We're not going to talk about just our specific leagues and teams and how great or how bad our teams are, but we're going to get into a little bit more broadly. So if any of you guys are out there playing in it, or if you're interested and never have played it before, highly recommend checking this out next year because it's so much fun, but also brutal if you lose week 1. So we'll cover this each week, but I'll let Tyler rattle off the 10 most cut players across all hundreds of Guillotine leagues.
Yeah, so the 10 most cut from this last week were Mark Andrews, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Hurts, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Warren, Jameson Williams, Anthony Richardson, Rashid Shaheed, and Ramondre Stevenson were your top 10.
So you hear a lot of those names. We're obviously going to hear big names every week because it's going to be the most rostered players, and it's going to likely be guys that struggled in the previous week, hence why their teams are getting cut. So essentially, it's just kind of going to be us looking at like whether some of these are correlation that's going to continue, or if it's players that you believe on, like hey, they had a bad week, but I'm willing to spend in on them. So Tyler, do you have any initial thoughts of just like how you would handle these types of players, or just bidding advice in general for Guillotine going into week 4?
Yeah, so I think this is kind of the point when you've got to be really honest about your team. Usually the first couple of weeks you can kind of skate by, and it's after week 3, did you also just scrape by again? Is it time to do something? Time to make a move at a specific position? I did this in week 3, and it really worked out, thankfully, across the board. But if you see somebody out there like a CD or a Tyreek, granted, I understand the Tua situation. He's still going to be a target hog. But CD specifically, I think that's kind of one of those guys you have to go get. You might have to overpay for him. You're probably looking at 200-ish or more of your $1,000 budget. But again, you know the type of volume you're going to get forever in a full PPR league pending health. So he's kind of one of those guys that I'm like, no matter how good your team is, he's the lineup staple for the rest of the year. He's the number 1 wide receiver in the entire NFL, usually, but negligibly was at least in the to start the year. So he's just one of those guys. You got to throw a usable bid out there. You're not going to get him for $80, $90, $100. Put something out there to get him on your team because you know he's a lineup lock for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's well said. We talked about that last week. If it's just somebody that's staying in, even when you're in the top 5-6 teams, I think you get them now and you don't worry about money later on. A few of these other guys, big names, I try to look at like, what's the reason for why they're struggling? And was it just an off game, or is there a data point to back this up? Mark Andrews, yeah, he's a tight end elite name, and he's like a flashy guy that you see. I'm not really putting a lot out there. Given the tight end landscape this year, everybody's struggled, and he's just had goofy, weird usage. So I feel like he's probably another guy that somebody will put $100+ on just to get him if they've got a rough tight end type of thing, and it's going to be overpaid pretty much no matter what. Like I like to put in my cheap bids just to make sure nobody gets anyone for free, but man, I don't care if I'm not getting Andrews for anything, over $10, $15 type of thing. Same thing with like the AJ Brown. You've got the concerns about him injured. If you feel good about your team, he's one I'd maybe go after because you can stash for like a week if he's out and then play later on. But Tyreek, I don't love the situation with the Dolphins. Obviously, without Tua, it's hurting a lot, despite how great he's done. So I'm probably not going after him. And then we talked about a little bit ago, I'm very risk averse. But if you're talking in most leagues, Guillotine is the league of all leagues to be risk averse in. So the Jameson Williams and Rashid Shaheeds, who look good in other league formats, I stay away from them in Guillotine. Like, you don't need to win a week. You just need to not be last. And these guys aren't the ones that are going to do that. So I would take more of a volume, low ceiling type of guy over those. So really, a lot of the names here I'm not really looking at. Jalen Warren's got the injury concerns. Anthony Richardson and Hurts have struggled. It's kind of just CD and AJ Brown that I'd really be going after in this list. So
yeah, that's about it for me as well.
We'll talk a little bit about our league each week, but any big or notable bids of players that worked out in ours last week?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I did kind of the lineup lock. My quarterback was Trevor Lawrence, and so Josh Allen was out there after his 9-point week, and so I thought I did a really great bid, and so I did overbid what I thought I was going to get, and thankfully it wasn't too bad. So I bid $257, and I got him, and the next closest was $252. So that made me feel really good, and obviously he led me to the promised land this week and makes me feel comfortable going forward. So again, he was the lineup lock, and it was a position of need, and now I never have to worry about it for the rest of the season. Yeah. Some other ones out there that were kind of brutal. Ayuk for $225.
That was so much.
That was a lot. I also got Garrett Wilson. I needed another receiver for $189. That felt too high as well. I think the next closest was like 130-ish, 140-ish, maybe over 150.
I was 24. Don't worry.
Yeah, but so that felt pretty high, but it wasn't horribly overpaid, thankfully, for what the next individual was. Kenneth Walker went for 150. That felt like a lot as well, especially with the injury. Diggs for 89. Again, he had 10 receptions, so it worked out this week, but I don't know that volume continues. And then I got Terry McLaurin for 57. So
I love that one.
Yeah, that one felt really good. Next closest was 52. So all my bids were right on par with what I needed to get these individuals. And now I'm just kind of set at QB and wide receiver for the rest of the season because I have CD as well.
I had my only bid last week go for Carson. He was a steal at $30, which felt really good because I only got him with Cooper Kupp missing and I had nobody at my flex. And then what worked out as my other flex, this is what I like to do with like throwing out those cheap bids for the lower tier players, like the bench guys that get cut. I got Roma Dunze 2 weeks ago for $4 and he came in clutch this week for me. So I think I did the same thing last year with Hopkins. I bought him like week 2 or 3 when he was on that suspension. I'm like, I'll pay $10 for him and just wait for him to come back. And then he was great. So those types of things, trying to be sneaky early on, like you just need to get okay flex players. I don't care if they're a top 36 guy. Like it just needs to be doable to survive for now with your presumably big names. So
Yep.
we'll see how we go next week. But yeah, we'll keep trying to bring in some more general stuff. So if you guys are out in Guillotine leagues, or if you just want to toss out some questions of like, what would you do for breaking your budget on these types of guys, let us know and we'll cover more broadly. Oh, I forgot this was the next segment. God damn it. You can talk because I'm going to be doing stuff for a minute.
Jack is going to be incapacitated for the rest of the stream. So
Yeah,
sorry, you guys
get
are
me hammered before the draft. So
that's what I'm here for. So we're into our DFS head-to-head competition, and for those lovely individuals watching on YouTube, Jack is currently pouring 3 shots. And you say, what happened?
Finest. I'm doing Screwball, which shout out to Justin and Shelby because they got me this nice little bottle because I'm going to be their officiant in their wedding in a week and a half. But Screwball whiskey, so it's peanut butter at least, which is great flavor. But yeah, your boy, hopefully nobody put money on my picks last week because holy hell, I don't think you could have done worse if you tried. Everybody was awful. Everything was awful. My day was over before it started. I knew I was losing to Tyler, but I did not know just how badly. So I'll mostly let Tyler cover this segment because I'm going to be trying to stay on mute and not hack up a lung as I slam these quick. But yeah, it was terrible.
On the contrary, it was absolutely wonderful. So in our head-to-head DFS on DraftKings, I won again. That makes me 3-0. And to be fair, Jack, to you, the next closest to me was like 108, and I scored 100, and I scored 177. So I had Juwan Jennings and Brock Purdy stack in there with
you had
with
your
Ayuk
token
and
one player who gets 40 points, just like last week with fucking Kamara. So I'm gonna get angrier as the shots go. I'm a mean drunk, apparently.
yeah. And so usually we just do one shot, but I tripled Jack's score, obviously. I scored 177. Jack scored 50.4.
Okay, we could have just left it at your 100. Just stupid. The worst part was
they're trying to figure out why you're doing 3 shots instead of just
fair.
one.
You tell the
because I
people.
tripled you.
The worst part was Tyler was like, yeah, you should be doing 3 for how bad you lost to me. And I, at the time, thought I had gotten doubled by him. And I was like, you're right. I should at least do 2 because I got doubled. So like worth twice that. And I went to check and I go, oh God, I got tripled. I shouldn't have committed to that before I said anything. So here we are.
I love every bit of it. So now we're on number 2 or number 3. I'm not sure what he's on, but so it was absolutely glorious. He just hit number 2. So it's been a lot of fun. If you want to join us, we're just doing it for fun, doing it for free. So we usually have 4 or 5 individuals in it. I don't know. I'm having a blast. So like I said, I'm 3-0, but if you want to jump in on DraftKings, it's recurring. You can always reach out to me. I can send you the link as well. Again, free. We're just kind of keeping track of everybody for the season, and then me and Jack are doing our head-to-head for a shot. And I'm stone cold sober, and Jack is not. So he's having a good time, and so I appreciate it as always. Going into week 4,
is it hot in here?
How are we doing, Jack?
Are we sweating? Is it just me?
Sticking off the hat. But going into week 4, looking at some early value targets. Jaden Daniels for about 6,500. Again, values come out tail end of Wednesday and into Thursday, and we record on Tuesday nights.
You are reading the ones I put in, so I don't want to mislead the people with them thinking that they're going to follow your 170 and pick my picks that are bad. So
yeah, that's true. Maybe I should do these notes from going forward. But we got Jaden in here for 6,500 versus Arizona. He looked great. Obviously last night as well. That rushing floor is awesome. Seems to be coming along as a passer too. You can go Andy Dalton in that revenge game versus the Bengals, 319-3 last week. You can do James Conner, 6,500. He's good for a bounce back game. He had a really terrible game, honestly, this week, and Washington's defense is absolutely abysmal for about 6,500. Chuba for 5,700 as well. Just that whole Panthers offense seems to be revitalized with Andy Dalton. He had a great game this last week, and obviously is going to get that receiving work too. So him for 5,700 is looking good. I think his second highest over-under on the week. So both defenses absolutely terrible. Expecting a shootout there.
If you thought 2 Panthers was a lot, just wait for my pick in the receiver game here.
Yeah, there you go. Chris Godwin or Deontay Johnson.
There it is.
Might as well just throw all the Panthers in your lineup this week. Andy Dalton seems to be resurgent. Godwin as well, obviously, has been absolutely massive target share. They're going to get Mike more involved, but again, against Philly, it's a pass funnel defense, so he's going to find those soft spots, and Godwin's always going to get his. Last one, same thing as last week. Brock Bowers had a kind of a down game as well. I think only 4 receptions, if I do remember, but he's still pretty cheap. 5,600 versus Cleveland. Minshew's going to get pressured, get it out of his hands. And another one that's been actually really good is Cole Kmet, 4,400 versus the Rams. They've given up the 4th most receptions and points to tight ends thus far.
Yeah, well said, Tyler. Hopefully you saying my picks will be better this week.
Yeah,
because,
you're welcome.
I mean, we'll see how I'll probably, what I like to do is I like to pick like a middle of the road quarterback and build my team out. And then if I'm like, ooh, I really want some of these other guys, I could use some money for them, then I swap out to the cheaper ones. That's where the Dalton pick comes in. If I don't love my team with Jaden Daniels as the cornerstone, I'll probably pivot to Dalton, and that almost guarantees Deontay Johnson's going in. But if those two aren't, and it's a Jaden or some other quarterback, that's where I'll try to slide Chuba. I don't like to do the QB wide receiver running back stack. So, but yeah, we'll see. That's obviously some of the lower and middle tier guys. You can always lock in your lineup with a Lamar or a CeeDee Lamb type of thing. But a few cheap options that'll hopefully get me on the scoreboard here because, that was not fun.
I don't know. It looked like you were having a blast.
I shouldn't have started with a beer and ending with a beer. I'm already 5 drinks deep. This is going to be rough.
So good.
Moving into another new / revamped segment, we're going to do our Dynasty download officially in the season here. We used to talk about our Dynasty teams, but that's boring if you're not in those leagues. So we're going to do more of a Dynasty focus type of thing. So essentially what we're going to try to do is there are going to be a couple of different keep, trade, cut things, and these are strictly Dynasty values. We'll say half PPR, 1 quarterback type of things, unless otherwise specified. But what we're going to do is we're going to pick 3 players or picks of relative similar value or maybe same position, whatever you want to do, give it to the other person and have them weigh in on who they would keep, who they would trade, who they would cut, assuming like trade is who you're kind of maybe not all in on, but get most value for, who you keep just because you believe, or maybe because you know you're not going to get anything for them. However you want to dissect it and kind of like fill the fans in on your thought process. But I've got 2 to kick it off for Tyler this week. So assuming half PPR, I got little bit lower kind of like bench options here, but Christian Watson, Tyjae Spears, or an early-ish second next year.
Oof.
We'll say at least top 4 guaranteed, but not 201.
Yeah, those are all brutal names. Everybody thought Tyjae Spears was gonna kind of have the breakout, and it just seems to be Tony Pollard's backfield. He seems to just be getting the most run. It's not that he's not the future, but again, remember Tony Pollard got signed for 3 years. Christian Watson has looked like an afterthought in Green Bay offense when he was the perceived number 1, and then an early second. For me, I'm probably still keeping Tyjae Spears as me. I'm probably trading Christian Watson, and I'm probably cutting the early second.
Interesting.
For me, just depending on the league context, anything past a first round and even early to mid second round doesn't do a whole lot for me. I'm not saying they're not useful. The Puka Nakuas and things like that of the world, those are the hits that come out of round 2s and 3s in rookie drafts, but that's very few and far between. So I would rather still have somebody like Tyjae or Christian Watson on my team than a random mid second round rookie. So I'm going to keep Tyjae. I'm going to trade Christian Watson, and I'm going to cut the early second.
Okay. I'm probably agreement on the Tyjae part at least as far as keeping. Oh God, I'm starting to slur. This is not good. Just because I think his value's at a lower with how Pollard started.
I agree.
And how he's been injured, so I don't think you're going to get a lot for him. I would keep him. I'm torn where like I don't know, like if I had Christian Watson and someone was like, here's the 202 or 203, I might take that just depending on what my context is, because if you're rebuilding, the picks are nicer versus that plethora of a log
team
wide
context
receiver.
is a big thing.
But either way, yeah, I think I maybe lean the second rounder just because I'm trying to think of it as if I had Watson, would I take it? I probably would, because I think you can probably get better receivers for a second than maybe him, but it's close. So teach their own. That's where I would lean. Number 2, actually 3 guys that we've already talked about this podcast, but same context: Bucky Irving, Michael Pittman, Ramondre Stevenson. A little bit more starter worthy now.
Yeah, I was gonna say this one's actually kind of crazy, especially with the mini breakout of Bucky Irvin so far. 3rd round, Pittman, 2nd round receiver, I think, and then Ramondre, I think 3rd round running back. But again, on a terrible team that has shown it. For me, I'm probably still. Man, it's actually really hard. I'm probably still keeping Ramondre. I don't know if that's right. I can see myself going Bucky, but I think I'm keeping Ramondre for this. I'm trading Bucky, and I'm cutting Michael Pittman. I just don't see enough consistency right now from Anthony Richardson that even Michael Pittman's go-to before coming into this year was PPR volume. That is not there. He's never been the touchdown monster, and right now he's not getting enough on-target, consistent targets from Anthony Richardson. They seem to be going more ground heavy, so I'm going to keep Ramondre, I'm going to trade Bucky, I'm going to cut Pittman.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I'm torn. I think, to your point, I might be, as weird as it sounds, because he probably has the most current value, I'm okay with Pittman as the cut, just because I think like nothing we're currently seeing is set to change in the near future because he's tied to Anthony Richardson now, so that scares me. And Richardson's not going to all of a sudden learn how to throw a ton and volume feed somebody. So I think Bucky probably has more like dynasty value currently, but at the same time, you can probably get more for him, whereas Reminder, you're selling for pennies. So like I believe in Bucky Irving more and want to keep him for that reason, but I think like saying to trade Stevenson, it almost makes me pivot to trading Michael Pittman. So I guess based on that, I'm trading Bucky just on the high, but I don't want to trade him. I don't want to force it because I like him. So I guess I'm probably matching with you in that context. So yeah. All right, another point here in the Dynasty Download. We're going to, if we have a spot, we're going to try to pick a Dynasty Spotlight of the week. So whether this is a specific player to discuss, like somebody who like gains value and comes out of nowhere, or somebody that all of a sudden loses it based on, maybe other team makeup or something like that, or just like a question written in. So one that we had here that was a question from a listener was, Tyler, please talk to scared Dynasty owners of how to value the 101 NFL drafts the last 2 years, the 101 picks, or the QB1 in the last 2 rookie drafts, aka Bryce Young and Caleb Williams. I think it's the fact that there's been Caleb is struggling and everybody has the bad taste in their mouth of Bryce, making them scared more. So talk to players that drafted them either in Superflex or in 1 QB leagues being like, okay, cool, I'm going to use my late first to lock him up, and it's not working out so far.
So
make them feel better if you can. If not...
Yeah. I can't. If you have Bryce Young in a Superflex league, he has played his last game as a Carolina Panther. That's my kind of bold stand right now. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. David Canales has come out and said Andy Dalton is our quarterback. And again, it's a new regime entirely in Carolina. He has a trade market. That's been one thing that's come out there. But again, now you're looking for something resurgent from a former pick. And again, it can happen. Look at Andy Dalton. Look at some of the other individuals. But he needs to get out of Carolina to even have any relevance. Caleb Williams, I'll give you, don't panic. It's early. It's 3 games into his rookie season. Bryce had an entire year and a few games under his belt. And never showed it. Caleb Williams is still relatively early. Not all of his weapons have been healthy. Rome's been hurt. Keenan Allen's been hurt. DeAndre Swift is bad. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. So I'll say don't panic on Caleb Williams just yet. I know it hasn't looked great. He's still one of those generational talents. Give him more time than 3 games. But Bryce Young, don't have much for you.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, in league context, I would have cut him already if he wasn't a free taxi squad spot on mine. So, I mean, Caleb, I think you have to hold at this point. I think I would maybe be, like, especially in a super flex, but even if not, I'd be floating like a super low ball offer just to see if somebody panics and gets him, because it doesn't hurt to have him just stashed on your bench for minimal, but that's about it. So, yeah, Tyler's not making you guys feel better out there. So, in the future, we'll try to have some, like, players of the week, trade targets, advice, stuff like that, or if we have any listener questions for Dynasty. So please reach out if you play in one of those, or if you've ever thought about playing in one of those and you want to, discuss what that kind of thing is like. We would love to chat those. Moving lastly, really quickly into ad/drive it like it's hot before my blood alcohol level really kicks in here. We're going to go into the key waiver targets for the week and percent owned. So we'll have Tyler take QB and wide receiver again, and I'll do running backs and tight ends.
Yeah, we'll do these super quick. We're not going to go too in depth. So we just hit the 1 hour mark, I know. So we'll get this rolling in, and we still got the draft to go through. So we're getting the kinks worked out as we figure out the new process, and we're gonna do some cutting. So Jack and I were like, this is going to happen round 1. We've already figured that out. But
we're bringing new content for you. You're welcome.
Yeah. So QB this week, 2 that we've already talked about, and so we won't belabor it. But Sam Darnold has looked great for the Vikings. and then Andy Dalton. Again, pretty minimally owned, like we said, 1% if you're on ESPN leagues. So look out there. He's just continued to do well. And then as far as wide receiver, Juwan Jennings, if he's still out there, if he didn't get added somehow before the game, absolutely go out there. He's going to be the wide receiver 2 out there for still a good number of weeks. We don't know how long Debo's out. And then Darnell Mooney as well. He's looked really good, back-to-back great weeks. 8 for 66 and a touchdown last week. High volume, clear number 2 over Pitts. So Drake London's going to be the 1, but Darnell Mooney seems to be Kirk's number 2.
Going into running backs, we talked about him a bunch, but Bucky Irving, 35% owned. He just came out and had 9 carries for 70 yards plus 3 catches. He has 25 for 154 yards on the season versus Rachaad White's 31 for 66. We'll just let that sink in. He's taking more and more work from Rachaad, and I think he's just more efficient. So I would grab him immediately if he's not already owned. Braylon Allen, we talked about too, 36%. I won't repeat a ton of stuff there, but him splitting more time with Brees than most of us expected, and he's at 2 solid weeks. The team is starting to trust him. And then I mentioned earlier in the show, but Roschon Johnson, 5% owned. I would grab him immediately because don't be surprised if he takes the work from DeAndre Swift early. 12 for 62 last week, and he's just been so much more effective. He's got more yards last week than Swift has basically on the season at this point. So moving into tight end, not a lot of great options, but Tyler Conklin, 14%. He finally had a good week with Aaron Rodgers, 5 for 6 on his targets, 93 yards on those 5 catches. Rodgers is looking his way a lot when the play breaks down, especially, which is good because Rodgers locks onto one guy that he trusts to make things happen when he's scrambling. So it's a good sign that Conklin's doing that. And they've got a pretty easy schedule coming up the next 3 to 4 weeks here. And then old reliable Zach Ertz, 29% owned. Unless you have a top 5, 6 option that you're pretty much like forced to play at this point just by draft capital, I have no problem playing him over any of the next like back half tight end 1 options. So that is it for those. I'm going to pick my jacks of the week. Ideally shooting for that like 30%-ish or lower threshold, but I'm just going to hammer home again. We talked about earlier. First off, Carson Steele was my pick last week. 17 for 72 on the ground for the Chiefs. He was the clear leader. I feel like he's a running back 2 moving forward. I don't still believe that Kareem Hunt's going to really impact this team a lot, even once he gets up to speed. I loved, like I said, everybody was going to overspend on Kareem Hunt, and for some reason not believe in somebody else that's already on the team. Kareem Hunt was an afterthought. Carson Steele should still get the work going forward for now. So we're doing good in 1 pick for the weeks for the season so far. This week's pick, I talked about him a ton already, but Bucky Irving, go get him ASAP if you haven't already. The offense is just as explosive as it was before. Rachaad is still garbage. He has been the last couple of seasons. It's only if he gets volume, and he's not going to get it with another guy playing this well. So I think it's going to be a 50-50 split more sooner than later, and I think it's going to be him getting the explosive touches and the big plays, showing the team where if they're going to try to make for the playoff push, he's going to be the guy to lean on. So that is my pick for right now, and he's going to shoot up way more than that next week. Lastly, notable injuries before the draft. So Tyler, if you want to run through your QB receivers, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so big ones. Herbert re-aggravated his high ankle injury that he had before coming into this game, so left early, questionable for week 4. I won't be surprised if he doesn't play. And they have a bye week 5. So I think that's a big reason that they might hold him out. Skylar Thompson, ribs, out week 4. They've come out and said they're likely going to start Tyler Huntley again, who just came off the Baltimore squad. So in a super flex league, maybe, just because, again, remember Huntley has some of that rushing upside as well. Darnold knee should be good. Jordan Love, MCL sprain, return to practice, could play this week as well. Going on to wide receivers, Devonta Smith officially entered the concussion protocol week to week. We don't know if he's going to play this week. Usually the same week that receivers or anybody goes into concussion protocol, they don't play that week, is what typically happens. AJ Brown still questionable from the hamstring injury, missing weeks 2 and 3. They have a week 5 bye. So again, likely going to hold out both Devonta and AJ Brown this week. So then they have additional weeks to get healthy. Thielen, down bad. Yeah. Popped his hamstring going into the end zone. So he's going on IR. Yeah, he's going on IR. Keenan's got plantar fasciitis. He missed weeks 2 and 3. That's brutal. It's very hard if you've never had it. It's just going to continue to plague you the entire season. So he may miss week 4 as well.
Going into running backs, Austin Eckler, finally when he has a good game, concussion, he's likely out week 4. So this really just bumps up Brian Robinson to a locked running back 2 with some upside versus Arizona. Jalen Warren and Najee Harris, knee and shoulder injuries respectively. Don't have a lot of options or information on them yet, so they're both questionable as of now. Watch this be a crazy Cordero Patterson week where they both sit out. So I'll just say that. Another one that's not a new update as far as CMC still being on the IR, but we had reports that he went to Germany to see a specialist, which is never a good sign when you need to go out of the country to find a specialist for that. But he got what's called a PRP injection, which is supposed to help Achilles injuries and struggles. But apparently it also requires you keeping the area and the leg immobile for longer. So they're thinking this is going to be a longer than the 4-week IR stint is how it's kind of trending. So prepare yourself, fellow CMC owners, for him to be out longer. Joe Mixon, who missed last week's game with an ankle sprain, he's questionable. I can't imagine he plays, but if he is, it's probably going to be very limited. Kenneth Walker, still questionable with an abdominal strain. He's had this all career basically for him. He's missed the last 2 weeks, weeks 2 and 3, and Zach Charbonnet playing well, and the Seahawks are 3-0, so I feel like they're probably not going to rush him back if they don't need to. So expect him out for another week and maybe come back week 5. Tight ends wise, my boy, Trey McBride, concussion protocol. He's probably out this week, but it's not guaranteed yet, so questionable for now. Make a plan on waivers ASAP. Same thing with Sam Laporta, ankle sprain. He seems more questionable to me just because that ankle looked rough. He was kind of hobbling off the field. And then Evan Ingram, hamstring. He missed weeks 2 and 3. He hasn't practiced at all, so it's probably going to be another week, along with David Njoku, who had the nasty high ankle sprain. Also missed the last 2 weeks. Also hasn't practiced at all, so start making plans for tight ends if you got any of those 4. All right, we did it. Jack wants no more alcohol. We're going into the draft season.
Come on, that was fun.
Mount Rushmore. Hopefully you have stuff prepared because this is your chance. We're going to recap last week's quick. The group me's, I ran away with it a bit, so thank you to those of you guys for voting. Facebook, Tyler went for the clean sweep. He had his wife, which I will keep banging the drum, 30 straight drafts we've done, and she's never picked my team once. I call BS. Tyler also got.
I have not told her. No, I didn't.
Tyler also got his in-laws in the game, and they both picked his team. Unbelievable.
That's actually pretty funny. I didn't tell them either. I didn't even know they listened. That's
no. I saw Chris
I don't think they do.
And then Katie's mom got in too, and I was like, oh my god, what are the odds that both of them are some of the votes on Facebook? But and then worst of all, stabbed my own heart. My own wife voted for Tyler. So both wives and
things you love to see.
Both of Tyler's in-laws on the show, 4-0 on the Facebook group. So luckily the group me's carried me home enough to win 9-7. It was a squeaker for best fictional gadgets. If I didn't mention that last week, go check it out at the very end, the last 10 minutes of our show. It was very goofy and a lot of fun. I'm going to try to start posting them on Reddit too, just for a would you rather type of thing, because it lets me do polls, which Facebook doesn't, and that makes me sad because more people would vote. But Reddit was a resounding 85-16, surprisingly. I immediately regretted taking lightsaber instead of web shooters because I'd rather have those, but I think lightsaber did the nostalgia for a lot of Reddit users. One person weighed in that the portal gun's way better for instant travel, and I argued, well, yeah, but the web shooters will be way more fun just because it's not instant. It's right swinging to get there. So I disagreed with my own pick there. I liked yours better. And then there were a lot of people pointing out, like, well, Pokedex aren't going to work because it's in our world and we don't have Pokemon. I'm like, we're freaking taking it in the world. Like, obviously, one guy was like, well, you could just Google right now and say, what's the Pokemon? You could have a whole list. I'm like, well, that's not fun. We're talking about in Pokemon world being like, what is this? And I don't know. So I digress. We're given separate titles this year for the Reddit King and the Friends Trophy. So I'm starting out one on each of those. So we got 1-0 for the season 3 total, but it's obviously very early. So starting into this week, we have best fictional football players. And Tyler, I will preface this by saying it depends on if we want to go 4 or 6 rounds. But we have a position per pick, basically. So
yeah, we could.
I'm good either way.
Let's go. Short, so. Yeah, I was gonna say let's just go kind of one of each. We'll do like coach, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and one on defense. So do like 5.
Defense, perfect. Just do your defensive captain and kind of lead your crew. That's where we'll go. So it doesn't matter position wise, but the others are work for me. I had an issue coming up with a lot of coaches, but basically just we'll do one of each of those, and we'll see who everybody likes best, whether it's cohesive or not. So Tyler has the first pick this week because I had lightsaber. So whatever position you go with, I am just going to pump that to the end.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. So it's kind of a tough one to start.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with. I actually think this one's pretty easy, and I think it'll be easy once I say it, because it just makes sense because he was a real NFL player. So I gotta take Deacon Moss. Give me. It's the one that made the most sense. He has the most experience, and obviously however you want to say it. But you can't go wrong with having Deacon Moss as your wide receiver 1.
I forbid any Michael Irving votes. This is strictly the characters. He was still amazing. He was
I was going to say,
incredible
still
around his
dominated.
yard. So, God, that really throws a wrench into things because I have a lot more like running backs and defense and quarterbacks that I like. There's only one other receiver on my list, and I couldn't even come up with that many people. So, and for context, everybody, we're picking them at like the best at their peak, whatever it was. So, I guess I will go with the one of the other ones that I had as the least amount of picks. I'm going to go with coach first, and I like both of these options.
I figured.
But I know who Tyler's probably going to end up taking, and I'm going to let him have his person because that's one of his go-to movies. I am going with more of my personal fan favorite and from a TV show. Leading the crew, I'm going with Coach Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights. So
nice.
Lock that in to lead the team, clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Beyond that, I am not going with Matt Saracen because Christ almighty, he was bad.
Yeah, he was really bad. You enjoy your high school football coach.
I mean, hey, he's still a coach. He was coaching at the college level too. Don't even.
Yeah, well.
I figured the other one you were going to take was a high school football coach because he was my other number 2 favorite pick, but we'll get into that later. Let's see. Well, I'm not taking receiver. I got plenty of other options I like at defense, and I think quarterback will still be fine no matter what. So I would be remiss if I let you pair these two up. So I'm going to go right to the running back hole, and I am taking Nelly, essentially. I'm going with Meggett, putting him in my backfield because he cannot be tackled and is incredible. So
yeah, fair enough. So for my next 2, you're going to give me a coach, and you're going to give me a quarterback that worked together, played on the same team. Talk about cohesiveness. Give me Coach Tony D'Amato from Any Given Sunday, and give me Steamin' Willie Beeman for my quarterback. That was too easy.
Remember that one draft that we did where we were talking about like the biggest movies that we'd never seen before?
Oh no, you've never seen Any Given Sunday?
None of this is on my list, so that's fine. I would never have taken them.
No,
you could have had them in the last round.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. The ultimate.
I know what I'm doing at work tomorrow.
Claw with your fingernails for that inch. Oh man, Jack. Voters, stop. If you listen to this, Jack loses.
Tyler's winning the 40 and over vote. I'm going to win all the 30 and under that I've never seen that either with me. All right. Well, so since Tyler took coach that I already had, this gives me a chance to lock up one position, at least on defense, that he hasn't. So for context, I got running back and coach. Tyler's got quarterback, coach, and receiver. This is tough on defense because I got multiple guys that I really like here, but I'm going to go with the clear-cut favorite, and I'm going to go with the water boy himself, Bobby Boucher, running my defense because he could also not be stopped. He was impossible on every play when he decided to play. So locking him up, and then, God, I am then going to go with either quarterback or receiver, huh? I mean, doesn't really matter what I do. So I guess as far as receiver, I'm going to go with show me the money, Mr. Rod Tidwell.
There you go.
Jerry Maguire.
I can work with that. And so what do I got? I got running back and defense left, yeah?
Yep.
Well, all right. We are just going to play a speed game and throw Forrest Gump in the backfield.
Yeah, he was my other pick.
So I think that one sounds good. And then for my defense, how about the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft? Give me Vontae Mack.
I had it written down. I should have ripped it out. I had Vontae Mack no matter what on my list here. So, yep. Love that. For those of you that haven't seen Draft Day, that terrible movie that's also just like a secret favorite of mine. You got to watch it every year when the draft's coming up. Running it with quarterback, man, these 3 kind of all stand out. Or don't stand out, I should say. They're all about the same. I'm looking with... I don't know how to pick any of these. If I pick the one, you're just going to make fun of me because he's a high school quarterback, so I'm not going to go with him. Jason Street was Mr. number 1 recruited 5-star quarterback before the injury. So there's him, but if I pick him, every comment will be like, didn't he get paralyzed and isn't he hurt? And I'm not dealing with that. So
good call.
Between the other 2, I guess I am going to go. I need Cody here to make this pick so he can scream this into the microphone. But Paul Crew. Put him on the board. I'll take your receivers quarterback because you're not going to have success without him. So he won a couple of MVPs, I believe, before he went to jail. He only went to jail because he was shaving points. He was so good that he had to play that on purpose to not do well. And he took a ragtag team of convicts. So putting him and Maggot together in his backfield seems pretty nice. We can run some schoolyard bullshit and try to see what happens here. So Tyler, your crew rounding things out here.
Yeah, I got Coach Tony D'Amato from Any Given Sunday, and the quarterback that he's worked with his entire career in Steamin' Willie Beeman. Running back, Forrest Gump, consensus All-American. Wide receiver, Deacon Moss, true NFL star, but guess what? Also dominated in the prison yards. And on defense, the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, Devontae Mack.
And I have Paul Crew at quarterback, led by Coach Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights. I have Maggot, I should probably figure out his full name, at running back from the Mean Machine as well. Receiver, I have Rod Tidwell, Show Me the Money from Jerry Maguire. And I've got Bobby Boucher, the water boy himself, leading my defense. So I think it's probably going to be Tyler here. It could go either way. It depends on, I guess, what movies people like more. But if Tyler wins, you have to do 3 shots next week before the draft because this was terrible. My notes are all over the board.
Jack, I will say, I'm putting it right now because I know Katie doesn't listen to this. You will win her vote for this one simply because of Jerry Maguire. And she's going to be so mad at me that she's going to assume it was you when she drafted. She's going to assume it was me. And so I'm telling you, for the first time ever, Katie is going to vote for you. She has never seen Friday Night Lights.
Oh, she seems like she would love it. I mean, you guys both love
I'm sure she would.
Thing.
Yeah, I'm sure she would as well. But as soon as she sees Jerry
so
Maguire,
happy.
She's going to vote for you. And then I'm going to sleep on the couch.
If I see Team 1 and it says edited next to it, I'm going to lose my mind because she changed it when she figured it out. I swear to God. There you go. Katie, please vote for me. I know you're not listening at this point, but that's the end of our draft. Tyler, we got 3 more for next week. What are we doing here?
Oh, man. I don't know. You got to go with this one because I feel like we've done something sitcom related before.
Okay, we can move on that one.
So
let's go with we're going to draft best noises to replace your car horn with. So just most entertaining ones you would like to be like instead of a meet me what sound or noise
I like that.
Entertainment would you like to use instead? So
fabulous.
Let us know any picks you have early on for those. Let us know if there's any big fictional players we missed. I totally forgot. Were there any major ones on your list that you came up for in the middle of this episode?
No, the only other one as far as coach, and Jack, you don't get to say anything. Let me finish. The only other coach that would have been great on there, Ted Lasso. Doesn't matter what it is, and obviously he was an American football coach
national championship for football.
Right, exactly. So that was a good one as well. Jack, me and Katie are binging it. We started it last. For those that don't know, I haven't seen it all yet. We've started it. Oh my God. We started it last Sunday. Jack, we're in the middle of season 3.
The final season already? I'm telling you, the final season. I told you guys would love it. It's so good.
It is incredibly good. Katie and I haven't binged anything for a long time, and they just get progressively longer. They're like, they're 30-minute episodes, and now we're in season 3, and they're like, they're 49-minute episodes.
Yeah, you're almost there already. Do you either of you have a separate favorite person? Is there consensus?
Roy Kent is a dude. I love every bit of him, and Sam Ogasanya is obviously great as well. So
yeah, he's a teddy bear. I love him.
He's a teddy bear.
You guys got to tell
me.
So
yeah, we are on. I think we're on season 3, episode 2. I want to say. So we're getting close.
Oh baby! All right, I made my night. I'm so happy. Cool. Well, the one I thought you were going to take for coach was Herman Boone from Remember the Titans. I thought you'd be all about
that'd
Denzel.
Have been good as well.
I will break my foot out, and
that would have been a good one. And I'm pretty embarrassed, honestly.
Defense, the only other one I was going to take, if you took Bobby Boucher before me, I had Vontae Mack on there, but I really wanted Thad Castle from Blue Mountain State. So if we would have had 2 defenses, that was my other pick. Quarterback, Jason Street or Joe Kingman from The Game Plan. If you're fans of The Rock, great movie.
That's a good one too. I didn't think about that one.
So that is it. We'll wrap it up here. We talked enough about our draft. Let us know who won. We'll post all the polls to vote on there. So appreciate your insight and your ridicule of what picks we did terribly. Shout out to friends of the show, Minnesota Sports. Check them out on Wednesdays on Facebook Live. And let us know what you thought about our new segments. We're going to be back again for another weekly episode next week. Let us know your takes, your thoughts, your questions, your start sits, all that good stuff. Tyler, send us home.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you listening. We'll cut this down. Like I said, we knew the first one was going to be a learning curve, so now we know where to cut out, where to add, where to put less stuff. But we'll keep these to an hour going forward. And so hopefully everyone enjoyed all the new content. Like Jack said, start state questions are always a fun one. Dynasty stuff as well. Send it our way. Happy to answer it. But until next time, Pod Squad. Peace out.
Bye. I'm going to go pass out. Keeping it together. Everything's funny.
Thank you for listening to the Brotherly Ballers podcast. Check out more content on youtube.com/@thebrotherlyballers.